Hey, welcome to another episode of Windham Weekly. This is Ken Frolan, your host, along with my co-host, Mark the Mushroom Doyle. We've got a pretty exciting show today, but we want to make sure you get the number early because there's going to be some interesting conversations, some education going on, all surrounded by mortgages in real estate. 860-456-1400. Let me welcome our guest immediately because they're a wealth of knowledge. They're both local. They both born and raised in Windham. I think one person who I'm going to introduce, the name will ring a bell, as I think the family's been around in Windham for 200 years, she said to me. Sharon Watson Socklin from Show and List, or List and Show. I like List and Show better.
However you want to pronounce that.
So everyone knows the Watson family, and Sharon, again, a graduate at Windham High School, is been very successful in this avenue, a family everyone knows in town. The other person who is with us today is your mortgage expert from Windham, another Windham High School graduate, Sean Toussaint, who loves Windham. He just loves being here, loves helping people find a program that'll help them get their first home. And I think we're going to start a little background about, I'll go to Sharon and ask, so what is the market like in Windham? We don't care about Columbia. We don't care about, New York. We care about Windham. What's going on in Windham with the real estate market? The average listing time, the average home price. What's it looking like for 2025?
So I'll tell you a little bit about what I've discovered since the end of 2024 going into this new year. There are 9 homes that have carried over that were listed between October and December of 2024 that are still available in the Windham area, ranging from mobile homes to multifamilies. There were 5 new listings since the beginning of 2025 that are available. My experience with 2024 was it's still a seller's market to a point. Really, it's all about the product. I think the process has a lot to do with how and when people buy homes and the price point. I feel like some people are feeling priced out a little bit for Windham. We've had a big increase in competition, more buyers than properties. And then we've also had an increase in the competition amongst realtors to get the listing and to kind of either sell to a colleague or to their own client. So there's a whole bunch of elements that go within how the industry has shaped in Windham. But in my opinion, I think everything is relative. It's all doable, and where there's a will, there's a way.
How did the reval affect the real estate rates? Did that have because there was a major increase in most people's revaluation.
Correct. That has saddened a lot of homeowners. It hasn't deterred home buyers. I think the average is maybe a 30 to 35% increase in property tax, which is not awful. I guess it depends on where that property is. But yeah, it hasn't really deterred buyers per se.
So it hasn't really affected the pricing of the houses? People didn't raise the prices based on the valuation going up?
Perhaps they did, but I would say that price was going to be increased anyways to kind of meet the market. I think people have an idea of what they want to yield from their sale. And yeah, the evaluations, it did impact people. I think the mortgage payments are what people probably are focusing on, people with existing mortgages. The evaluation has probably shocked them a little bit more than the buyer.
So the median home value or listing value, let's say, is somewhere in about the 270 range in Windham. Am I correct? Or is it a little lower, a little higher?
It's really hard to say because...
On single family?
Yeah, because mobile homes are considered single family.
Gotcha.
And we've got mobile homes here. We've got a mobile home on the market for $49,000.
Yeah.
So you put that against a $400,000 home.
It reduces the medium, yeah.
Correct.
I get you.
Yep.
Yeah, but it's still...
And they move around a lot, Ken.
Yeah, well, they're mobile. So my understanding is, it's still, and always has been, a real value in Eastern Connecticut still, no matter how you write it.
Absolutely. People are coming here more than homes or being in the quiet corner, Yukon and the other draws that pull people here. But there is a renaissance here in Windham or Willimantic, and there's a lot of great things happening. We have our Third Thursday Fest. We have a lot of things that are exciting. And when I have clients who are looking outside this area, my eye always comes to Willimantic. I love it here.
And I would assume, because Mark, I was member of the Board of Education. Mark is still on there. which is why it's called a mushroom. So the excitement to me, again, a young home buyer, let's say, coming into town, working with yourself or other agents, you're still looking at what has the town done to invest in itself between the stage, the garage, the $112 million renovation project at the high school, the community center, and now this talk of, a brand new elementary school, consolidating that. And that's got to be some kind of fuel to your fire for the spring market. It really has to.
Absolutely. I think everybody knows someone who's looking to move. And, when you have family, when you have friends, your instinct is to bring them closer. So anyone in this area, I have referrals of people saying, I have a cousin in Hartford who wants to move somewhere. Do you have anything around here? Everyone is kind of trying to be more nuclear with friends and family, and Willimantic is a great place to start because of those reasons.
Yep. Still plenty of people coming, not just from the Hartford area, but I think a lot of people are still coming in from New York.
Yeah.
I mean, I know
out of state.
I've got neighbors who bought a home just from looking at it on the internet system, whatever you want to call it. Okay, they didn't even come into the house, and I kept saying, "Geez, I wonder what the final sell price was," because you never know. But so yeah, it's pretty exciting times right now, and I think Windham again is on the move, and that's why we're checking in with your people like yourself, born and raised. You know how your family especially knows the movements, the dead periods, the movement, of growing this community, and in the last 5 to 8 years, I've not seen it move as much as it has at this point. So, which is a good thing.
Yeah, that's what I mean by renaissance. I think the last maybe 10 years, there's been a huge trajectory toward growing businesses, welcoming in new families, contributing to businesses, finding funding for different projects. So I think that, the next 5 years are just going to be a big boom here. Eastern has done amazing things with renovating some of the gingerbread homes over on Prospect Street. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of pluses.
And so we know, Mark and I know, because we're old guys, that the real estate agent doesn't want to talk to you unless you can produce a paper that says, hey, I've been pre-approved. And we're not going to shirk that. That's very important. And so who do you go to? There's multitude of mortgage houses out there and banks that are local. We wanted to bring in, again, someone from Windham, someone who grew up and knows the neighborhoods, knows the people. He happens to represent North Star Home Loans. Has Sean Toussaint, again, a recent grad. I think he's been in the business now 10 years. After graduating, he went local to Eastern Connecticut State University for his college education, got right into this. And, from what everyone says, he's as professional as can be. He has to develop relationships not only with the person who's looking for the mortgage, but also with a group of realtors who he needs to develop to keep the pipeline moving here in town. So, Sean, what's going on with the rates for 2025 first quarter? But I care about the second quarter because, people are still sleeping off the holidays.
Yeah. It's right now we're sitting at just about over 7% at a national average. We saw them hit the highest point that we've seen, at least in my lifetime, back in...
Well, he's only 25. No, I'm only kidding. His lifetime.
The fall of 2023, we saw a big spike, and it's been slowly declining ever since. Not as quickly as we would have hoped. A lot of the experts thought we'd be in the fives by now, and we're not.
For the first 5 calls, how many points will you take off?
It's up for discussion.
Yeah, please call in. These are two great local community members who are here to help you, especially when I start asking about programs. So 456-1400, whether you want to know how do you go about finding the value of your home or finding, the home of your dream or your starter home or your retirement home. That's what Sharon's all about. And so we'll go back to Sean. So the rates are, comparably high still, not outrageous by any means. I remember, not that far back, rates are at 21% at one point in my lifetime, and houses still sold.
Actually, if you look at I think it's like a 30-year average or so, 7% is right about ballpark, and that's where we're at now. I think just a lot of people have been spoiled by those COVID rates that we saw in the 2s, 3%. We even saw some people in the 1s during that time. So we're coming off of those COVID rates. and it spoiled a lot of people and set false expectations for where we're at now. So now when the topic of rates comes up, it's like, wow, those are high. Let's wait for them to come back down. And
Well, 40 years ago, I bought my first house in town, and my rate was 7.5%.
here you go.
That was 40 years ago. And since, like Mark told you, I moved from place to place to place because I don't want people connecting
Yeah,
the
the
connection with
neighbors keep complaining about the noise and the smell, so I just got to keep it. I, on the other hand, have lived in the same house for the 40 years that I've been in town. I don't have to move. Like, people love me, Ken.
Oh, I'm glad they love you. So so Sean, what is the deal now? So if the rates are coming in at that amount, obviously for every point it equals X amount in interest, which equals more monthly on the payment. So on Sharon's end, Sharon has, priced the property, did her comps, came up with a nice price for the seller. The buyer comes in, geez, I could get more house only 2 years ago because the rates were lower. But what did we say earlier, Sharon? Marry the house, date the rate.
Yep.
Sorry,
Marry the house,
Sean,
date the
you'll
rate.
never get to the altar. But so the biggest reason I had Sean on, and then Sharon can chime in anytime. These are not specific questions for one person because I think they go together. Okay, you're not going to sell unless he gives them a rate, right? So what I want to know,
Unless you got cash.
Yep.
unless
you
have
got cash.
right? Yeah, Mark.
Yeah. It's in the bed. It's all under the bed.
So what I want to know is, can you? And again, this is not specific just to North Star, but I would bet a good percentage of your customers nowadays are first-time home buyers still, right? Because people who have their homes are fearful of selling it. Yeah, they're going to make a nice profit, but that next house, unless they're going way down in retirement homes, is going to be higher. So the family that has grown in this house and needs a little more wiggle room is going to pay more if they sell.
Yeah.
And that's what's the logjam is. That's why there's less houses on the market, whether it's here in Windham or anywhere else. So my concern is to get the information out to the community. Can you go through some programs and work with Sharon? You guys have the conversation of how these programs work, so that they know they're out there. You can give your contact information out so that we know, where we're going with all this.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. First and foremost, anybody can always contact me. Call, text, email. I always say if I'm awake, I'm working. I stole that line from my boss. But it's true. I have one phone, so you can call me anytime, 860-942-9413. Like Ken was saying, there's a lot of variables in real estate and in mortgages that are outside of our control. And obviously, present a high level of stress when people are trying to decide when to buy or when to sell and trying to time rates and home prices and everything like that. So we really just try to bring it back to affordability and comfort in terms of budget. So when we're talking,
Let me interrupt you for a minute. We do have a caller.
Put your headphones on.
oh sure,
All right, you there?
Go ahead, caller.
Hi, how are you? My name is Mike. Long-time listener, first-time caller. I just have a question for Sean.
yeah.
Go right ahead, Mike.
Just curious, like what kind of rates or programs you have for veterans that might be in the area.
That's a great question. Yeah. Veterans actually have access to, in my opinion, the best loan program on the market, with a VA home loan. No money down, no mortgage insurance, and some of the lowest rates that the market has to offer. And that's specific just to veterans and their families. And it's a huge thank you that we give back to people who've provided the ultimate sacrifice to our country. So the VA home loan is, in my opinion, again, by far the best. And there's a lot of misconceptions out there, and Sharon can probably talk about, what that seems like in the eyes of a seller, but what a huge benefit it is to buyers.
Absolutely. I am a military relocation specialist, so I'm certified to provide guidance and help vets, with choosing the right house and getting through the process of going under contract to closing. I would say that If you are a veteran, the VA program is definitely hands down the best way to go. They have built-in protections for the buyer as far as the fundability of the home. They go the extra mile to make sure that the home that you purchase is going to do well by you for the price that you're paying for it. They're kind of strict with, maybe peeling paint, railings and things like this, but it's an amazing way to get funded at below market interest rate for buying a home.
That's great info. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you,
Talk
Paul.
about the veterans program. Is there an issue with credit rating? I know, having been coming out of the auto industry, that was always an issue for us trying to get people financed. What is it like getting financed through the VA program?
It's honestly one of the easiest programs to qualify for. The lending guidelines are much more flexible compared to other programs. We actually go down to, I believe, a 550 credit score on VA loans.
And then the DTI is, or debt to income ratio is what?
Yeah, I've seen it as high up into the 60s.
Yep.
60% range.
Okay.
There's actually no specific guidelines. It's just a matter of what makes the numbers work and where we get our approval at. So you can afford more house with a VA home loan because of that leniency on the debt to income ratio and the lower interest rates.
Correct. I'm doing a VA loan right now here in Windham on Woodland Drive. And we have a very good program running with our lender and our buyer. So we're looking forward to closing that very soon.
Very nice.
So that's perfect for veterans. What do you have for the guy or gal who single family, a single parent, couple kids, has a decent job, but just hasn't been able to save that much money with the price of rents? I can't imagine how anyone's saving for a mortgage down payment.
Rents, groceries, yeah.
Well, we're not talking Doyle's grocery bill, man. Look at the size of them, guy. Jesus. go ahead.
Yeah, we have a lot of low down payment options for home buyers. And there's one that you may have to be a first-time home buyer, but not necessarily. We have an FHA loan option with just 3.5% down. So another conventional loan program at 3% down. There's a first-time home buyer aspect to that one. There's also you don't have to be a first-time home buyer for a different version of that program. Another pretty cool, unique thing about not just Willimantic, but all of Windham County is that it qualifies for USDA financing, which does not require a down payment. It's 100% financing. So that's a really great option.
Is there still a program out there, for teachers who live within the district that they're teaching in? There used to have a program for young teachers, or it doesn't matter if you're young or not, but most of the time.
Sure. Not that I know of.
I think it's a 203G. I think it's
203G?
called. Yeah, 203G, and it's another government loan.
Yes.
That provides a certain amount of front end money to cover deposit and all that stuff. Yep. Yep.
So that's good. Because we've got a lot of young teachers in town, and it's not like having your teachers live in town to become stakeholders. And also keep them in your district to become older teachers with more experience.
Yeah.
And,
To expand on the USDA program, when I have people looking local, I always say, Windham County. I immediately go to USDA. Depending on how much my clients want to spend and the type of home I'll say, because I've closed USDA loans where my buyer brought $2,000 to closing, and that's it, and that covered everything until they got their first mortgage bill. So I always say for Windham, Willimantic area, especially Windham County, as Sean said, 100% opportunity zone with a government loan of USDA.
Yeah, every town in the county qualifies, and what I mean by that is there is the town has to be rural. And when you look at Willimantic, you don't think rural, but based off of population, the USDA does determine it to be rural. And a lot of Tolland County too. When we get into towns like Vernon and Manchester, where there's a higher population, that program is not eligible. But every town in Windham County, including Willimantic, is considered rural and does qualify for this 100% financing.
Sharon, how soon in the process are you asking people to get pre-approved or to check out. I mean, I imagine a lot of people could look at a home and then get to that last 11th hour and find out they can't get the loan. So how soon in that process are you working with the customers to get them pre-approved?
So it depends on how involved you want to be as a realtor. For me, I think it's important to know what the budget is. A lot of us eat with our eyes, and we want something amazing, but our budget is really going to say, after they've been vetted by Sean, what they can actually afford. We have a lot of buyers who are not fully informed about the pricing process and fees and things like this. So they say they see a $400,000 house and they go on Zillow and they do a breakdown. They're not reading that price or that payment is a 20% down payment. So they come to the bottom and see $1,800, I can afford that. Mm-hmm. And that's where we get into trouble. So a good agent is definitely going to look at the full picture, involve the lender or the potential lender, have them take the application and then understand what the budget is. And then I will help them kind of select or figure out bedrooms, location, streets, if we're talking about Willimantic, and then go from there.
Sean, with mortgages, and you could pretend Mark is the because he might need some help at some point in his life, that he's the first-time home buyer. I know he got to take an application, but what are the documents and all the? Some people are so afraid of that, and I want to stress the whole, building some wealth and being able to pass something down to their children and so on, and this is the only way it happens, I think, unless you have some last names that I.
Sure. Let me actually give you some stats on that, and this is probably blow your mind. In the last 5 years, average across the United States, the average homeowner has gained $125,000 of equity, free equity, just based off of market supply and demand. So when you talk about passing something on to your children, that's a pretty big lump sum, and that's just in the last 5 years. So, think about a house that's been paid off completely, or what the next 5 years will do, which is one of the things that we always preach is it's not, timing the market, it's time in the market. So somebody who may have delayed buying a house 5 years ago is missing out on, over $100,000.
Especially here, because they're saying the New England market, even though they say Connecticut, it's part of New York, the New England market is still going to be growing faster than the rest of the country. Prices are, I told you before, the median house right now in Rhode Island is up to $500,000, which is unbelievable. And I'm not talking seaside. I'm talking, there's some tough cities out there with high tax rates makes Windham look like paradise.
Providence,
Providence's rates are through the roof.
Yep. My sister lives in Providence, and she's got a little cape, and it's appraised at over $500,000.
So again, go through that scenario where, so people aren't afraid to call. I'm not, again, Sean's with North Star and Home Loans, and that's great, and Sharon is with
List and Show.
I like that name, List and Show.
List and Show, yep. That's what we do.
And but there are plenty of local. These people are here are your educational tools for the for the hour that we're on, targeting information to people here in Windham, and somebody could be sitting by the radio right now listening, and geez, okay, I know I got to fill out an application, but what are some of the real step-by-step steps you got to take, and then you're going to hand that over to. They're going to get the thing with Sharon, and Sharon can tell them exactly what she does. I think that's important, so they don't fear the real estate process.
Sure. It can be very daunting, especially if you haven't done it before. When you think about the largest purchase that most people do in their lifetime is buying a house. So it's very easy to get cold feet. So step one, unfortunately, everybody wants a house, but nobody wants a mortgage. So most of the time, they're reaching out to Sharon and their real estate agent first. They see a house online, they want to go see it. They don't really care about qualifying for the mortgage first. But we do have to dial it back and kind of start from square one, which is getting pre-approved. We make the process really pretty simple. We have about a 5 to 10 minute application that somebody would fill out, whether with us in person, over the phone, or online, and a short list of documents that we would need, just ID, pay stubs, W-2s, and bank statements. If you have some funky income or you're self-employed, then we get a couple extra things. But the list is pretty short. And then from there, myself and my team get to work on reviewing everything. We do all the heavy lifting up front just to make sure that when we do pre-approve somebody, we're providing them with concrete, strong pre-approval letter. We've done all of our due diligence. We're going to avoid any surprises throughout the process and make sure that they're fully equipped with all the information that they need. So when they go out and look for houses with Sharon, they're equipped with that. And then we follow it up with a really in-depth consultation call where we go over it. And I say to everybody, I probably sound like a broken record to some of my clients, but there's a big difference between what you can qualify for with us versus what you actually want to spend. So a lot of times somebody may qualify for $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 homes, but they don't want to spend more than $2,500 a month. So that whole conversation is about really dialing it in on how much do you want to spend and what does that mean for the house price, so that when you get with your realtor, you know exactly what to look for and how to dial in your search so that you're only looking at homes that are yielding you that comfortable budget that we've determined, rather than just giving somebody a pre-approval letter for, let's say, again, $500,000 and wishing them luck. They're going out without that information. So it's really important to get that up front so that then Sharon can get to work on determining what houses meet that budget requirement.
And you do a lot of personal hand-holding throughout your process.
Yeah.
I mean, I've talked to some of your clients. I know some of your clients.
You are one.
I'm not one. I'm not one of yours, believe me. So anyway, things are good in that respect.
That's good respect for the customer.
And you're making sure, because the customer has to know. I mean, Sharon, I already can tell, is in tune with what I'm going to say. And it's basically, geez, Sean said I can get $450K. The house I'm looking at is, for whatever. Then there's all these other costs that come along to getting a house. And then that mortgage payment is only this much per month. But, geez, now I can't even afford the value meal anymore. So that's what I think Sean's getting at. And, I've done about 5 or 6 houses. I always know that I want to make sure that, if I'm hungry, I'm going to have the money for the food. 'Cause that's very important.
That's very important for Ken Boy.
Well, you better believe it. Unlike a mushroom, we could just sit and nowhere. But anyway.
In terms of the, let me just, if we can get a question here, Ken, excuse me a
Well,
second.
then we're going to hit the Sharon with what happens next.
Let me get a question here. In terms of the pre-application process, are you locking people in? Are they signing a contract that they're going to definitely take the loan from you, or are you just pre-approving them, and then if Uncle Bob says, well, I can get you 2 points less at Bank and Trust, I mean,
Sure.
What is that process like?
Yeah, so there's no contracts with loan officers. I don't think it's legal. But no, all we can do is give them the information that they're looking for in as much detail as possible so that they feel comfortable sticking with us. We always tell people if they are going to shop around, just give us the last look so we can see if we can match it or beat that offer. But no, there's no locking in. And, I'm a big advocate of just educating people in general, whether they're looking to buy now or in 2 years and they just want some information. So, there's no locking in.
Okay.
It's all information.
Well, that's good to know for a future buyer or a first-time buyer, just to make sure they're not afraid to talk to you, to worry that they might have to get locked. And that's why I was asking the question.
Sure,
Okay.
sure, yeah.
That is important. That was a good question, Mark.
Thank you.
Good for you, buddy.
I worked on it.
So Sharon, now you've got a customer that you talk to. Maybe you said, hey, why don't you talk to Sharon about getting this mortgage, pre-approval letter, because I really need that, because sometimes other realtors won't even let you in the house unless your client is pre-qualified.
True.
So now the customer comes back to you and says, hey, look at this, I got the paper. They pop a balloon. They're all excited. What's your next steps? Because I know the realtor then carries the ball all the way to the closing.
That is true.
The mortgage guy runs away once he gets his cabbage.
No, no, he doesn't get his cabbage until we close. So my process, I'll say my process, I've kind of streamlined how I approach helping clients into their homes. The biggest thing today is getting your offer accepted. It's really not about what you see. It's about the skill of the agent being able to get your offer accepted. That's not necessarily something that's 100% involved with your network of agents that you work with. Say I'm showing a property of someone I know and, I've got an inside whatever, because highest and best is not always the key here, depending on the loan, right? Depending on the product. that has a lot to do with what I show my clients or what we decide to see together, I'll say. Once I get my client or get the client, once they're pre-approved, then we set our appointments and, process of elimination. Today, with there being more buyers, it is reciprocal, it is cyclical. There's always something to do as far as following up with someone you've closed 2 or 3 years later. Yeah.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting spring market, I think. I mean, because, Sean doesn't have a crystal ball except for the top of his head. He has no hair, just a joke. But anyway, listen, because the rates, we don't know what the heck is going to happen with that. And that's why it's, I think right now it's a matter of finding the house, getting that offer accepted. I don't think the bidding is going on for houses as much, or am I wrong?
It depends on where you are.
No kidding.
So I just showed a home on North Street last weekend, and the open house had 30 visitors
Holy
or
smoke.
more. This was not my listing. I was there with clients, but it was bananas. The Hill section in Willimantic, anyone looking to sell, my personal number is...
That's where I live. I'm in the Hill section.
It's area code 203-564-3262. I am always available. Anyone in the Hill section. My company offers 1% listings, so we are very unique for the Willimantic area. So we are rolling out a 1% listing fee, and that's just for the listing side. You can always contact me for more information. But
I'm up there on Summit Street. How's that? Is that a good street?
Oh, absolutely. That's where my family settled, Summit and Chestnut.
That's where Mr. Watson, Everett Watson was.
Absolutely.
Grand gentleman.
My dad was born on Summit Street.
Was he?
Yes, he was,
Matter
in
of fact,
1940.
Tell you the truth, at one point,
As soon as he found out Doyle was his neighbor, he moved.
when Everett was a child, he lived in my house.
Oh, really?
Yes, I remember Everett telling me all the time that when as a child, with his father Harold, they lived in my.
Is
the
it
house
the
that
White
I'm in.
House over there?
That's the only brick house on the street.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
So
right
that
around there.
my grandmother and grandfather, yes.
Yep.
And that's where my dad was born.
The good old days.
Yes, sir.
I got another question about as a first-time buyer. I remember way back when the banks were really fascinated with where your down payment came from. That seemed to be a major issue. Is that still a major issue for getting loans? And
Yeah.
how much are realtors or banks looking at that type of thing?
Yeah, it's a huge. Any money being used for the transaction has to be sourced. No mattress money. If it's coming from a family member as a gift, there's a process for documenting that correctly. If it's coming from checking, savings, obviously that's very easy. Retirement, we want to see it liquidated. But yeah, it's all got to be sourced. It's got to be your own money, unless, like I said, unless it's gifted, to make sure that it's legitimate and it's not debt. You cannot borrow your down payment, so you cannot get a loan to get this other loan. So that's huge, being able to source and verify all
So
those
that's all
funds.
part of that debt to income that we're
That'd be
looking
an
at.
asset.
Yeah.
Debt to income ratio would be your gross monthly income versus whatever you have for monthly debts on credit plus this new projected.
Right, but if I
mortgage
borrowed the $20,000 before it hit the credit bureau, I could theoretically get away with telling you it was my $20,000.
We'll find it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think there's a closing quick enough for that to happen, unlike the car world.
Yeah.
Yep.
You don't want, in other words, folks, you don't want to be buying a brand new car and then next month wanting to buy a house, because there goes your debt to cash income ratio, and that just makes it tighter for you. You want to be as debt free as you can, have as much capital on hand, and just be upfront and get through it. Because once you get through it, you get in there. There's nothing like taking the pride and spring comes and now you're spending money on grass seed instead of going to see the Red Sox, and getting that yard taken care of, and a little sweat equity over the years, and then you hopefully you grow your family. They go to the Windham schools and have great ties to the community, and they meet people. And then if these guys are still around, I mean, like, they're both young. Sharon and Sean are still very young, and who knows, maybe in 10, 15 years your child is old enough to get a home, and hey, remember that guy Sean, he had no hair then, and Sharon, well, let's give them a call, because it is, again, this is a business relationship. And to be in a town of this size, it is nothing but relationships that you make along the way. Get the best advice. Where do you go for your tires? Where do you go for get your haircut? Where are you getting your beef? And
Everybody's got a guy, right?
everybody's got. It's not Rhode Island, but everyone's got a guy. I mean, so I just mentioned beef. I just want to make a little plug for next week too. So next Thursday on Windham Weekly at 4:00, get your questions ready for 456-1400. We're going to have Bob from Wyndham's IGA. Yes, the original, the real deal Bob from Wyndham's IGA. He's going to talk about his expansion, the history of his business in growing it as successfully as he has here in Windham, and why Windham. Everyone knows, Save the Butchers, and so Bob's going to be here. Just want to make sure people know next week that's who our guest is going to be. So say if you don't have questions about his business, ask him about a piece of cut of beef.
Yeah.
So
Is there a question in there, Ken?
there is the question
Okay,
to Sharon
thank you.
is,
Thank you.
Yes.
I was waiting for this.
where's the beef? I mean, so
Okay.
are you? Is Willimantic, is a big part of your business area, but the surrounding towns are just as busy, or?
Absolutely. Windham County, New London County, meaning like Colchester area, then Tolland County, Hebron, Mansfield, of course.
Lebanon up the hill.
Lebanon, absolutely. So all of this little area
Still a hotbed.
Yeah, where
That's fantastic.
Willimantic people moved out, 20, 30 years ago. It's still Columbia's and all that. It's still quite very popular.
And again,
Absolutely.
for people coming in, let's say Hartford, they come from Hartford, they still find the value here with the tech, because we got hit pretty hard with our increases as with the values. I mean, again, if you're cashing out, that's wonderful, but if you're just chugging along, it's tough. But
Yeah.
it's still a value compared to Hartford, Bridgeport. all
Tons of value, and then quality of life, and
Yes.
just the whole package. We have everything here. We've got the restaurants, we've got the socializing, we've got the festivals, we've got the band shell, we've got parking, we've got all that.
You got Mark and I.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. We've got the
I-
radio station,
Yeah.
the old
Matt
dinosaur.
Rupar, what can we ask for? I mean, the voice of Wyndham is here.
There you go.
It's amazing.
Yep.
Sean, rates, still a guessing game, but you don't need to be afraid of that, because 6 months to a year down the road, the whole financial market could be 100% better or 100% worse. And if they're better, you're going to refi anyway. If not, you're locked into what I think is still a fairly decent rate at 6-7%.
Yeah, we're
helping.
helping. We saw a nice little dip in rates the first week of October, I believe it was last year. It's just not that long ago, and unfortunately, they slowly started to climb up a little bit and stabilize. But during that week of lower rates, there were maybe a 2-year low at that point. I was reaching out to people who had bought with me the last 2 years, and a couple of them benefited from a really substantial savings by refinancing. One saved as much as $500 a month.
That's nice. Yeah. Yeah, you need that with the price of eggs.
That's right.
Well, here in Windham, you can also have chickens, so it's another
There you go.
benefit to moving out this
Nice.
way.
My neighbor
to-
does.
Yeah,
My
yeah,
neighbor
listen to
has
that.
ducks and chickens. So
Me too.
It's interesting. Now, just business-wise, are you a one-woman agency? Do you have a group of agents that work with you, or?
So I have 2 brokers who are a couple who started this company 30 years ago or so, or they've been in the business for 30 plus years, and they started this list and show some years ago. I started the business with a different brokerage and learned the business from the transaction side, and knew what I, had my 6-month plan, and implemented it by moving on to list and show. And I've been with them since 2022.
Okay.
I took the course to get my license during COVID, like a lot of people, and just kind of created my own niche.
So where is List and Show? Where's your major office?
It's right on the corner of 66 and 6,
Okay.
right in Columbia.
Yep.
It's its own building, freestanding building with a huge sign out front that says List and
List
Show.
and Show.
It
Yep,
doesn't
it's a
say
beautiful-
show and list. It says list and show.
It says List and
And
Show.
You're hearing words of wisdom from Sharon Watson Stockland. If you don't know the Watson name, either you're new to town or you're living under a rock.
For
Or
sure.
you haven't seen the street. They have their own street.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Right by the park, yes,
That's
by
right.
Memorial Park. Yep.
Where the original taxi place, which taxi was, for those who go way back, will know about the original taxi. It was called Watson's Taxi.
They had several. They had Watson's Brothers. They had Watson's. They had my Aunt Ruby had one. At one point there were 5 taxi medallions out of the 9 available in the area, which was basically almost a quarter of the state. They had 5 or 6 of them.
So it's all part of your long-term commitment here to Windham. That you and your family have been around for quite a while with Windham.
Absolutely, and I definitely feel like I have an honor to do service to anybody looking to buy a house in this area. It's my pleasure to help them. I feel like it's an honor to serve Wilmington.
It comes through in your words. It really does.
Thank you.
And then we got Sean Toussaint again. He is with North Star Home Loans. You know, he was born and raised up on Back Road in North Windham. And, I'm going to be transparent now in saying how I knew Sean since he was a baby. And a wonderful family. And he grew up, rec ball, T-ball down in WIO, knows a lot of families. He was an old scout of mine. When I bought my second home, I did, I didn't look at the rates. I gave the kid a break because he was new to business. I gave him, here's a bone, here's a clean guy with good credit, get me through in 5 days and we're all done. And, but he's a gentleman, a true professional. He's a dad now of 2.
Yes.
And his wife is Sydney. Mm-hmm. And so there's many people who know him. He grew up, went to high school here, was involved in athletics, I should say, I'm sorry. Yeah. Went across the street to Eastern, got his degree there, and has been doing a bang-up job, because it's all over Facebook, showing this, showing that, showing this, showing that, about being at the closings, being with these people who never thought they would get a home. And like I said, there's nothing like home ownership, nothing like being a stakeholder in the community. As soon as you get the opportunity to get involved in this community, the better off I think you're going to be. The feeling of belonging, the feeling of being a part of the Windham family. And we're hoping, Mark, that these kind of shows, which only help inspire and educate people in Windham, these are 2
trying to highlight the positives of living in the area.
Yep, so.
Thank you.
We got about 2 minutes left here, Ken.
Well, I'm going to do 2 more plugs, okay?
Okay.
So, again, we're not saying go buy a house through Sharon Watson Stockland.
Yes.
Okay. She is one of many super qualified real estate agents out here in the area. But we wanted someone who was young, not to say that all the agents are old. So we wanted someone who was young, who was involved, and who really knew the Windham. And if you don't know, again, the Watson family, it's there. Mortgage companies, banks abound in town, but North Star Home Loans is where Sean landed, Sean Toussaint. Highly recommend giving him a call. Talk about someone who's honest. If he can help you, he's going to. That's the kind of kid he is. Mark, why don't you close us out?
Well, we certainly appreciate the information and your visit. It helps clarify, I think, a lot of things for the first-time buyer, especially that information about the veterans loan and the USDA information that's Wyndham's. So we appreciate you being with us, and I guess next week, folks, you can look forward to Ken and I returning with Bob from IGA. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.